Picture this. You're on a hike, the sun is out, the air's crisp, and you are feeling, absolutely invincible.
The perfect day.
Exactly. The trail has been gentle, your boots are comfortable, life is good, but then the trail it disappears. The gradient kicks up past 40 degrees.
Oh, yeah.
Suddenly, you aren't walking anymore. You're scrambling. You find yourself standing on a muddy ledge, maybe the width of a smartphone, and your leg starts doing that uncontrollable vibration.
The dreaded sewing machine leg, the uncontrollable Elvis tremble.
Exactly that. It's that moment when a hike stops feeling like a walk and starts feeling like a battle against gravity.
Yeah.
And it brings us to the core question for today.
Yeah.
At what point do your trusty hiking boots become a liability?
When does that nice-to-have gear upgrade become a straight-up safety necessity?
It's a huge question. And for our deep dive, we've pulled together some really interesting sources. We've got an in-depth review from sundried.com. It's called Scarpa Manta Tech Review,
Wow.
When to Switch to B2 Boots.
Right, and we've also got a field test video from Daniel from Sundried, who took these boots out for a week of mountaineering in Switzerland.
And to ground all of this in some hard science, we're looking at a technical analysis paper called The Vertical Threshold, which breaks down the biomechanics.
The physics of it all?
So our mission today isn't just to review a boot. We want to look at the physics of how we move to help you understand the engineering difference so you can decide if you're ready to make the switch.
And it really does come down to physics.
Okay, let's unpack that. This Vertical Threshold paper, it talks about two different ways we move.
Yeah.
The lever and the platform. I found this super helpful.
It's biomechanics 101, but it's fascinating because we never think about it. On flat ground, your foot acts as a flexible lever.
Right. Heel strike, roll, push off with your toes.
It's a fluid rolling motion, and that's why your standard hiking boots, what we call BU0 boots, are designed to flex to support that.
But the paper points out that when the angle changes, when you hit steep ice or small rock edges, everything inverts.
You can no longer use your foot as a lever. There's nothing to roll against. It has to become a rigid platform.
Because if I'm standing on a tiny little edge of rock and my boot bends,
your foot just rolls off.
Yeah.
Simple as that. But let's say you do manage to keep your balance. Because the boot is soft, it's not supporting you. Your calf muscles have to contract isometrically to hold your heel up.
Isometrically. So holding tension without moving.
Exactly. It's like doing a calf raise on a step and just holding it for hours. That's what causes that calf burn.
And the shaking leg.
And the shaking leg. Your muscle is exhausted because it's doing the job the boot should be doing.
It makes total sense. I always just thought it was unfit, but really I was fighting my own footwear.
You were. Now, this is where the mountaineering boot comes in. The sources call it a splint for your foot.
A splint, okay.
It has a rigid shank running through the sole. So when you stand on that tiny edge, the boot stays flat. It takes the load, transfers the weight through its own structure, and saves your energy for the summit.
This lines up perfectly with what Daniel from Sundried found in his field test. He was pretty blunt about it, actually. He said on flat ground, the Scarpa Manta Tech boots were, well, kind of annoying.
He compared them to ski boots, didn't he?
He did. Clunky, made a loud noise on the pavement, but, and this is the key, the moment the gradient tilted up, he said that annoyance just vanished.
They became essential tools.
Instantly.
Yeah.
He said they solved the stability problem just like that.
And that's the trade-off. You give up that rolling comfort on the flat for absolute stability in the vertical. It's a specialist tool for a specialist job.
But it's not just flexible versus stiff. There's this whole language that can be confusing. The B rating system.
Right. B0, B1, B2.
It sounds like a vitamin complex. Can you break that down for us?
For sure. It's a scale of stiffness, and it's absolutely critical for safety. So B0 is what most people own. Your standard flexible hiking boot. Great for trails, comfy, but dangerous on ice because they bend so much.
Okay, so moving up. B1.
Think of B1 as the stiffened hiker. It's got a bit more support. Good for winter walking, say, in the Lake District or on non-technical snow.
And then we get to B2. This seems to be the focus today. The Scarpa Manta Tech from the Sundried Review is a B2 boot.
Correct. B2 is often called the sweet spot or the alpine all-rounder. It's semi-rigid, so it's stiff enough to hold an edge on ice, but, and this is key, it has a rocker.
A rocker.
It's a curve in the sole up at the toe. So even though the boot itself is stiff, that curve lets you rock forward when you walk. It means you can hike to the mountain without walking like a robot.
So it's the hybrid.
Exactly. And then, just to complete the set, you've got B3.
The big guns.
The rigid tool. Fully stiff, like a ski boot. That's for the Himalayas, vertical ice climbing. Total overkill for most people.
Now, this leads to a really serious warning from the Vertical Threshold paper. about crampons. I think a lot of people just assume you can slap any spikes on any boot.
Please, please do not do that. This is the big safety warning. There's a compatibility matrix for a reason. If you put a rigid climbing crampon on a flexible B0 boot, you are asking for a disaster.
Why is that?
It's physics again. The boot
Yeah.
flexes, right? The crampon is rigid steel. If the boot bends and the crampon doesn't, that metal connecting bar between the front and back of the crampon gets bent back and forth, back and forth.
Like a paperclip.
Exactly like a paperclip, and eventually it snaps.
And if you're halfway up a glacier when that happens,
You're in a very, very bad situation. On top of that, the flexing can cause the bindings to loosen. The crampon can literally just pop off your foot mid-step.
so the rule is rigid boots need rigid crampons.
Or semi-rigid. For the B2 boots we're talking about, like the Manta Tech, you typically use semi-automatic crampons that clip onto a little shelf on the heel.
Got it. Okay, let's dive into the gear from the sundried.com review. They really spotlighted the Scarpa Manta Tech. What makes this boot the workhorse they describe it as?
Well, it's a classic piece of Italian bootmaking. In a world full of lightweight synthetics, the Manta Tech stands out because the upper is made of 3mm suede Perwanger leather.
Perwire leather. That sounds fancy.
Legendary stuff. The source calls it an organic fortress. It's incredibly tough. If you jam your foot in a rocky crack, synthetics might tear, but this leather just scuffs. And because it's organic, it molds to your foot over time.
Ah, so you get that custom fit.
Exactly. Synthetics are lighter, sure, but they don't change shape. Leather learns your foot. Plus, the Manta Tech has a Gore-Tex insulated comfort lining.
For warmth, obviously.
Well, yes, but specifically for when you're not moving. When you're belaying, just standing still holding a rope, you're not generating heat. You need the boot to actively keep you warm.
But the boot is just one part of it.
Yeah.
Daniel from Sundried was testing a whole technical system.
Right. He paired the boots with Petzl-Vasa crampons.
And he mentioned these things called anti-now plates.
Oh, yeah. A critical safety feature. When you walk on soft, wet snow, it can ball up under your crampons. It sticks to the cold metal. If that builds up, the spikes get covered and can't bite into the ice.
So you lose all your traction.
You basically become a human ice skate. The anti-snow plates are little flexible plastic bubbles that pop the snow off with every step.
That sounds like a literal lifesaver. He also talked about his poles, the Black Diamond Pursuit FLZ. He said using them with the crampons made him feel like Spider-Man.
I loved that. It makes perfect sense. You've got 4 points of contact, 2 feet with spikes, 2 poles with spikes. He said even descending on ice, which is usually terrifying, he felt totally secure.
He did give a specific tip about those poles, though, the Z-pole mechanism.
Yeah, you have to be careful with those. They fold up really small, which is great. But Daniel noted you have to make sure you hear that audible click when you lock them.
Or else.
Or else you lean your full weight on it over a drop and it just collapses under you.
Yikes. Okay, so you've got the gear. You bought the B2 boots. But the sources all suggest that buying them is the easy part. Fitting them is the dark art.
It is. A B2 boot doesn't fit like a sneaker. It's stiff, it's not going to give. So if the fit is wrong in the shop, it will be wrong on the mountain. There's no breaking it in when it comes to the length or the basic shape.
The sources mention a specific diagnostic, the heel lift test. How do we do that?
This is something you should absolutely do in the store. You lace the boot tight, really tight, then find a stair, stand on the edge with just your toes like you're climbing, then you lunge forward, driving your knee over your toes.
Okay, like a deep knee bend on a step.
Exactly. And you're feeling for any movement in your heel. If your heel lifts up inside the boot more than, say, 5mm, the source calls that boot a blister factory.
Because every single step up the mountain, your heel's gonna rub.
And you'll have no skin lift. The boot needs to lock your heel down.
Which brings us to toe bang. Sounds painful.
It is. The recommendation from all the sources is to size up. Often a half or even a full size larger than your street shoe.
A full size. That feels huge.
You have to account for swelling. At altitude, your feet get bigger. But the real danger is on the descent. If your toes are hitting the front of the boot, step after step after step, you lose your toenails. It's that simple.
I think I'd like to keep my toenails.
Then you buy big.
The sources also touched on brand topography. Apparently not all boots are created equal.
Yeah, this was a great tip from the Sundried article. They said Scarpa typically fits a wider forefoot, a high volume foot. La Sportiva, historically, is narrower, The lesson is, don't be brand loyal.
Let your foot decide.
Let your foot decide. Brand loyalty should never, ever override foot shape.
Okay, now I learned a new scientific term from the maintenance section. Hydrolysis. Sounds like a supervillain's weapon.
It is the silent killer of hiking boots, specifically the midsole, which is often made of polyurethane or PU. It's great stuff, cushiony and tough. But if you store your boots in a damp, dark place,
Like a basement.
a garage, moisture gets trapped in the foam. And over time, it chemically breaks it down, turns it to powder. The scary part is, it happens faster if you don't use the boots.
Wait, really?
Yeah, walking actually pumps air in and out, which keeps the foam dry.
So you pull your boots out after a few years in the closet.
They look fine. You drive to the trailhead, step out of the car, and a mile down the trail, the sole just falls off. The foam has disintegrated.
Wow. So use them or lose them.
And keep them dry. And one more care tip from Sundried. Never dry leather boots near a radiator.
Why not? I've definitely done that.
It's fatal for the leather. It shrinks it too fast, makes it brittle, and it can melt the glue holding the boot together. Just let them air dry slowly.
So we understand the boot, the fit, the care. What about the person wearing it? Daniel from Sundried shared a pretty impressive fitness stat.
He did. He said his VO2 max went up by 2 points in just 1 week. That's a huge jump in aerobic fitness.
But here's the problem for a lot of us. We don't live in the Alps. How do you prepare for these boots if you live somewhere flat?
The sources suggest weighted carries. It's simple. Put the boots on, wear them around the house, wear them on stairs, carry a heavy pack. You have to get your body used to the weight on your feet.
There was a rule about that, wasn't there? The weight on your foot versus on your back.
The pound on foot rule. The physics says that 1 pound of weight on your foot is like carrying 5 pounds on your back in terms of energy expenditure.
That is massive.
It is. You're lifting that one thousands of times. It explains why moving to a heavy B2 boot feels so exhausting at first.
So training in the boots is non-negotiable.
Absolutely. Do not break them in on the actual climb.
Okay, let's put this all together in a decision matrix for our listener.
Yeah.
They're in the store, credit card in hand. How do they decide?
All right, based on the sources, if you're just hiking on trails in the summer, stick to BZO. Don't overgun it. Enjoy the flexibility.
And if I want to do some winter walking, maybe some easy snow.
Then look at a B1. It gives you that waterproofing, a bit more stiffness, and you can use strap-on crampons for icy bits.
And the B2, the Scarpa Manta Techs of the world.
That's your workhorse. If you're planning on Mont Blanc or Scottish winter climbing or any technical scrambling where you need to stand on small edges, if your ambition is vertical, you need a B2.
It sounds like the B2 is really the gateway to serious mountaineering.
It is. It opens up terrain that B0 and B1 boots just can't safely handle.
So I guess the big takeaway here is that this switch isn't just about comfort.
It's about efficiency and safety. Switching to a B2 boot lets you stand on an edge with a relaxed calf. It lets you descend ice without fear. It changes your relationship with the mountain from one of struggle to one of control.
Control versus struggle. I like that.
And Daniel's experience shows that perfectly. The gear that felt clumsy in the parking lot was the very thing that made him feel like Spider-Man on the ice. It's all about context.
Before we wrap up, there was one last provocative thought in that technical paper. The idea of the hybrid.
Yes. The lines are blurring. We're seeing what some people are calling B1.5 boots. Manufacturers are using carbon fiber, advanced synthetics to make boots that walk like a hiker but climb like a mountaineer.
So does that mean the heavy leather boots, these organic fortresses like the Manta Tech, are they destined to become relics?
It's a real question. Leather is durable, but it's heavy. Synthetics are light, but more fragile. As materials get better, we might see the end of the break-in period entirely. But for now, for sheer reliability when you are miles from anywhere, leather still holds the crown.
It's proven technology. So next time you're lacing up, I guess you should take a look at your soles. Ask yourself, are you wearing a lever or are you wearing a platform?
And more importantly, which one does the mountain demand? Choose wisely.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. We'll catch you on the next one. Stay safe out there.